Nvidia quarter results on Wednesday will be the main event of a somewhat slow week as we're heading into week 47. You're listening to the StockInvest.us podcast, Trading Tips with Jim, and of course, I am Jim. And last week I told you that I thought it could be a good week, fair chance to be a good week, but it was not a good week at all. Nasdaq down 3.14%, ending the week at 18,680 points. Dow Jones did a little bit better, down 1.24% for Dow Jones. And the buy and the sell signals show that all markets fell. The amount of buy signals fell across all over the last world, and why not, let's start there. Last week, 34% of all companies around the world in our system gave a buy signal. This week, only 27. Nasdaq fell from 80% to 11%. New York Stock Exchange fell from 41 to 25. London from 22 to 18. Frankfurt from 30 to 27. And going to Asia and Tokyo. Tokyo fell from 29 to 23. Shenzhen, China from 75 to 72. It's the huge stimuli packages in China driving the market, so still doing very well. National Stock Exchange of India fell from 22 to 12%. The amount of buy signals are still not low enough to argue for a upturn. So there is no in these buy signals that say that there will be an upturn. We know that when buy signals are very low, you can get into a period of fear that pushes the market even faster down. When they reach a certain level, there is a high chance going up. So all in all, the buy and sell signals say that there is a fair chance that we may see some markets turn up for sure. Nasdaq has a high probability of doing better than last week for sure. But there is a general fear. That fear is seen in the amount of sell signal increasing over a period. And over the last 7 days, only 17% of the companies are up. So if you invested money last week, there was only 1/5 of a chance that you will hit a company that was going up, because almost 74% of the companies have been falling during the period. And in general, it was just a hard week last week. Looking at the major buy and sell signals and the greed and the fear, they are just in the middle. New York Stock Exchange, for instance, is sitting at 43.49, which is not low enough to trigger a buy signal. And for sure is not high enough to trigger a sell signal. Last time there was some really good buy signals from New York Stock Exchange and Nasdaq was in August. Then they hit 2 buy signals in a row. I've been waiting for a clear sell signal, but haven't come so far yet. Oslo, for instance, since I know there is a few listeners from Oslo, see somewhat the same. There is no clear direction for Oslo. Gold, which I like a lot, is falling just as expected. I said after the Trump victory that I think gold will have to go down to 2,200. Not sure it will fall all the way to 2,200, but down $110 last week to minus 4.29% for the gold, falling almost 4.5%. Well, so far that is correct, and the reason why gold is falling is because there is less uncertainty in the markets, and anyone following crypto know how much crypto been boosting. And since we like to be honest and fair in this portfolio, well, my stock portfolios have not been doing the best over the last 2 weeks. I admit to that. In the $1,000 challenge, where I try to grow $1,000 as fast as possible, for instance, NIO fell quite much last week. The portfolio was down. That portfolio was down by $348. So absolutely not good. We'll get back to the $1,000 challenge by the end of the podcast. Currently sitting at $2,568. May sound very nice because it was 1,000 I started with in that portfolio, but has been up around 4,000. Two bad trades lately made for yet another bad week. In my bigger portfolio, which we don't follow here, I have been very much into oil, war and gold stocks, and has not been paying off. But that being said, my investments into crypto, if you follow this podcast, you know that when Bitcoin was around 30,000, I said I used the chance to get more Bitcoin, and I've been buying a lot of crypto, and crypto was low, and now it is pulling up all my, so in my total portfolio investments, I'm able to go in plus despite struggling a little bit with the stock investments that are in. The only thing that is doing really good is crypto. The other thing is the dividend stocks. They are paying off very, very well. Talking about the dividend stocks, I believe that we are heading for a bit tougher market, and I would advise people maybe to think more about dividend stocks like oil stocks. I think oil will have to struggle because we know Trump says that energy should be cheap. Cheap energy is good for all economies. It's good for your personal economy. So he will push for lower oil price. Oil price, of course, if that goes down, mean that the stock price of oil companies should follow down. But many of these are heavy dividend payers. So I believe it's a fair chance that if you absolutely wish to stay in oil stocks, that given good dividend, if we look 4 years moving forward, there is a fair chance that the overall outcome still will be good. War stocks, tired and talking about war stocks, they will do good. They will continue to do good, and the dividend payments will be very, very high across most of them moving forward. They have stockpile of orders and profit margins that most can just dream about. Talking about some dividend stocks, here is a few dividend stocks and how much they pay. If you go to Nasdaq, for instance, you will find Oxford Lane Capital Corp. Last year, 18% dividend. So far this year, 15% dividend. We can go to Autoscope Technologies, for instance. Last year, they paid 14.9%. For this year, 24%. AGNC Investment Corp paid 13.8% profit there in dividend. So far this year's 13.7% dividend. And if we go to Oslo, and you know I'm Norwegian, I have some Norwegian stocks and some Norwegian dividend stocks as well. And here I, for instance, have 2020 Bulker, which last year paid 9% dividend. So far this year, 27.1% dividend. You have a Golden Ocean Group, which paid 6% last year. So far, 9.3%. Agas, another stock which I hold for dividend purposes, paid 35.7% dividend last year. So far this year, 28.1%. And we'll wrap it up with MPC Container Ship, since I also hold that one. Last year paid 42.1% in dividends. So far this year, 21% dividends. So you can make money being in dividend stocks. The stock prices may not be the best, I mean moving the most upwards, but overall you can mitigate your risk a little bit by sitting in dividend stocks. And while I believe oil prices may struggle, I believe that the freight prices, they will remain somewhat high. P stocks is more and more on the agenda for Ukraine, meaning that we suddenly can have a situation where energy will flow more easily in Europe, for instance, also across the world in general. Middle East is calming down a little bit. Suddenly we can get back to the same things. I think oil price in general, as I said, may fall, but there will be more freight of oil, and I think the freight prices will remain good, meaning that there is a fair chance that they will continue to pay good dividends. So I personally have moved quite much over from pure oil stocks into some of these freight companies. purely based on dividend, because if market takes a toll, which I think is a hard chance that it will do, I want to compensate a little with dividend, come back hard in general later. 10-year treasury yield 4.6. I cannot remember last time it was so high, up 6.52% last week. And as I told you, I don't think inflation will go away anytime soon, despite we get a new president. There is so much from the past that still is in the works, arguing for pushing inflation up. And last week's inflation numbers, they came in on target, but they are above Fed's wished 2%. So we are not at the Fed target for sure. They are higher, and more people start to talk that maybe inflation should just run its course. And I think inflation will come roaring back. That's my prediction. I think the so-called lower interest rates will wait a little, then they will have to be taken down despite inflation going up, because there is a high chance that we will hit stagflation. Saying all of this, I believe that the first 2 years of the next presidency will be much harder than people expect. We have been celebrating the victory so far with good markets, except last week, but everything is pointing in the right direction. But there is too much from the past that has to be dealt with before the economy can move forward, in my opinion. One of them is the raising debt, which is absolutely taking a toll, for instance, on the US budget, where I think they are up to 20% in spending just on interest rates alone. And US is not alone. Most countries done the same thing. Borrowing, printing money all over, and these things has to come into some sort. It has to be dealt with. And that argue for the higher gold price. So gold may fall to 2,200, which I said could be, but I also believe that in a nearby future it will start to tick upwards again. The other thing which I think will offset a lot of this is crypto. I'm a good believer that crypto have not seen the peak yet. Bitcoin was at some $90,000 I saw, and I believe it fairly should easily go to 100, but may then take a little break downwards before pushing upwards again. But I will not be surprised if we, by a half year, look back and say, wow, what happened to crypto? Many of them being much higher. Anyway, that's a game. It's a really tough one, and you shouldn't invest more than you can lose, and it should just be a part of portfolio. Myself, for instance, I have maybe 15% of my assets into crypto, and as I said, been doing very well so far. For the week, there will be Wednesday and Nvidia quarter results, but Tuesday will be Walmart, and Walmart is very interesting in terms of seeing the consumer behavior and how it works. And we will also continue with Target on Wednesday, but again, Nvidia will be the main thing. I promised myself not to make a long podcast to bore you, so with this said, sum it up, I think there is a fair chance that market can be green. We are in the place where it's very hard to say. It's small things can move the market further down. We can have a small thing and suddenly the markets will go up. It will be volatile. Week 45, Nasdaq was up 5.73%. Last week down 3.14%. I will not be surprised if it's up 3% this week or down 3%. I believe we are in a period of volatility, and it may continue for some more. Argues for some possible good trades, and you can use a lot of lists trying to find some good trading candidates. Some of you have been waiting for the $1,000 challenge, the place where I try to grow $1,000 as fast as I can. But after a few mistakes lately, it's been a tough game, and last week was not a easy one. I told you that when Kamala lost, it would be hard for NEO. Has to do with tariffs on China and make America great again, which means that you should have your money in Tesla. And it was the choice between Tesla and NIO, and that was before the election ended with NIO. I should have gone with Tesla, of course, and we see how Tesla has done. So much gains in Tesla, and NIO has been punished, and it was punished last week, currently sitting at $4.49, down 11.96% since I bought it at $5.10. And I am absolutely not sure. I know the company will do good, but we have all these tensions with China. We have still uncertainty what will happen over the next 2 months. Then we have to deal with what will happen with the new administration. What kind of tariffs will they impose, etc. And all of this argues for NIO is absolutely undervalued, and there is a huge upside. I see tons of people saying the same thing, and analysts saying that it easy should go up to $10, $15, and $20, where it should be, because they produce much more cars than ever. Everything is showing the right directions, but the stock price has been hammered, and it may continue to be hammered. Have absolutely no idea. The best you do when you have no idea is actually just to sell it. But I will not sell it. I will take my gamble. I have grown $1,000 to $2,568. That's where we're currently sitting. I told you this is a high risk game. I play high risk stocks, high gamble. Here we can easily lose money. And I still have enough profit to gamble a little bit more, because it just needs some right attention, and it should roar back. But my guts tell me that this will not be an easy one. So for everyone who is asking what is the trailing stop loss for NIO, well, I have removed it, currently sitting open. It's the most stupid thing you can do when trading. You should have a clear sell and just sell it. I should have sold the stock when it was in profit. Remember, it has been several times up at $6, and we've been sitting in profit, but I have just kept it. This is a portfolio, by the way, if you're a new listener. I only buy after telling you first what I will buy. So in the podcast, I will tell you if it's sold, and I will tell you exactly which stock I will buy before I buy it. So you can follow all the trades and see that it's real. And so far, well, the NIO trade has been a bust. Currently sitting in NIO, I will continue to sit in NIO a little bit more, and while I'm happy about crypto, I'm not happy about NIO at all. And I need to sharpen up the game. I'm working on some tools, trying to figure more out, because if we look at the very, very big pictures, over the last 1.5 years, most stocks have actually been falling. The market has been driven by a few stocks. So it's for any of you who have lost money and not been able to do very successful trades last 1.5 years, it comes to no surprise, because you've been fighting a tough market. And quarter results, the profit margins have been falling for the last 3.5 years. Companies have reduced profit margins by a few percent on every single quarter season. And only when these things start to turn and companies starts to become more profitable, there should be a general uptick in the market. Some say that we are in front of a huge uptick. I am not sure of it, because all the price increases, everything that has happened is still not properly sold. We have offset on you, the end consumer, as much as we can. We have shrunken the products as much as we can. Profit margins are still under pressure because of wages, and the push for higher wages, meaning that the profit margin is even under more squeeze, because you cannot push the price, for instance, of a hamburger up above a certain level, because people just simply stop buying hamburgers, and then you have to lay off people, and that is exactly what I think is the next big thing. Lay off of people. Hopefully I will be wrong, but the main point is that it's been a much harder market despite we see green. It's been driven by the Magnificent Seven. So you're not alone if you had a hard time in the markets lately. We'll end it with that. We'll wish you the best possible trading week there is, and I really hope that your portfolio will be much greener when we speak next week, because I will be back next Monday telling you what happened during the week and hopefully give you a little bit more insight. Until then, just have a super week. Bye.
Welcome to StockInvest.US Stock Analysis. We remind you that trading involves a high risk of losing money, and that you should speak with a financial advisor before buying or selling any securities. You should not base your investment decision upon StockInvest.US. By using the information, you agree and are held liable for your own investment decisions.